Welcome to the Movie Skewer. I'd like to wish a happy birthday to James Bond, who turns 50 this year, and his liver doesn't look a day over 80. 2012 marks the 50th anniversary of the release of Dr. No, and MGM is celebrating the occasion with the release of Skyfall, the 23rd entry in the Bond series. And by celebrating the occasion, I mean they're just getting out of bankruptcy. Daniel Craig is back as 007, looking to recreate the magic of his first outing as Bond, Casino Royale. That movie won loads of critical acclaim, broke box office records, and shut up those annoying Craig not Bond nut jobs once and for all. And then came Quantum of Solace. We should have known we were in trouble when they announced the title. I suppose it could have been worse. We could have gotten James Bond in the Hildebrand rarity. Quantum of Solace is not even close to the worst Bond movie ever. For one thing, it doesn't have CGI surfing, or a pigeon doing a double take, or a guy with 3 nipples. But after the success of the previous movie, it's fair to say it was a major disappointment. The film starts with a car chase, and do not adjust your Ritalin dosage. This movie contains the most scattershot editing seen in the series to date. Since it's impossible to tell what's going on, here's the play-by-play. Bond is being pursued through busy mountain roads by unknown assailants. Eventually, the chase ends when Bond remembers he has a gun. He then drives into what appears to be the Italian Batcave, and here comes the kicker.
It's time to get out.
Yeah, Mr. White was in the trunk the whole time. What do you mean, who's Mr. White? Don't you have photographic recall of a movie you saw 2 years ago? Another huge problem with this movie is it requires you to be intimately familiar with the previous film. So let's look back at Casino Royale, shall we? No, too far. Oh dear God, not that Casino Royale. Oh God, it burns. In 2005, Batman kicked off the whole reboot craze. So in Casino Royale, we basically got 007 Begins, showing us Bond's very first mission as a 00 agent. He played a game of high-stakes poker against Le Chiffre, banker to the world's terrorists. He was aided by Vesper Lynd, who held the purse strings, CIA agent Felix Leiter, who loaned a brother $5 million, and Renee Mathis, who mostly existed to play poker commentator.
Bond will have to go all in to call his bluff.
Bond won big, but was captured by Le Chiffre, who tortured him by whipping him in the testicles with a rope. That really says something about his integrity, I think. Most supervillains these days are content to just train a laser on Bond's nuts and call it a day. But Le Chiffre, he's a real hands-on nuts kind of guy. Before he could turn Bond into a soprano, the mysterious Mr. White showed up and killed him. Bond recuperated and then quit the service to live happily ever after with Vesper, presuming everything was still functioning down there. Unfortunately, Vesper turned out to be a double agent. She stole the poker winnings to pay off Mr. White's organization because they were holding her boyfriend hostage. Realizing she totally fucked things up, she let herself drown. Bond went into revenge mode, tracked down Mr. White, and shot him in the leg. And that's where this movie picks up. Seriously, it's less than an hour later. So not only are we being thrown into a story in media res, but the editor made sure to do just enough meth so that nobody would have any clue what's going on. White is questioned by Bond and M, played once again by Dame Judi Dench. During the interrogation, he reveals the true nature of his organization.
The first thing you should know about us is that we have people everywhere. Am I right?
White escapes in the chaos. Well, I'm guessing, because once again the editing is set on frappe. Didn't M get shot? I mean, there's a bang and she falls down, but when we see her later, she's totally fine. Eventually, Bond and the gunman end up at a construction site, swinging from ropes and trying to get their guns while deadly shards of glass rain down upon them. Due to the ADD editing, I can't quite tell what's going on, but I'm sure it's awesome. Bond kills the guy, leaving them with no leads. Back at MI6, they use their spiffy Minority Report table to trace some of Le Chiffre's money to a guy in Haiti. Bond goes to hunt down this lead, and this time, he totally, for sure, will not kill the guy. whoops. Also, did Bond just kill a man by jabbing him in the leg with a pair of cuticle scissors? Naturally, the guy's clothes fit perfectly, and Bond just happens to be in the right place to be mistaken for him.
Get in.
What?
Get in.
Alright.
This is our main Bond girl, Camille Montez. After a tiny misunderstanding where she thinks Bond is trying to kill her, he tracks her to the guy who ordered the hit on her. This is Dominic Green, who happens to be part of the same organization as Mr. White, meaning they have both a Mr. White and a Mr. Green.
How about if I'm Mr. Purple? I mean, that sounds good to me. I'll be Mr. Purple.
Who cares what your name is?
Yeah, that's easy for you to say. You're Mr. White. You have a cool-sounding name.
Unfortunately, Green will be this movie's completely non-threatening Bond villain. For one thing, look at him. For another, it's a bit hard to feel intimidated when his main henchman looks like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. Green is meeting with a Bolivian general, who Camille just happens to have an Inigo Montoya-like vendetta against.
Conocí a su familia. Tristemente, creo que fui el último que los vio vivos.
Oh, did I mention that Camille is supposed to be Bolivian, despite being played by a Ukrainian actress? Not to worry. They've given her a nice fake tan, which makes it totally okay. The general takes Camille away on his boat, where she plans to finish him off, but she's soon rescued by Bond, and a horribly edited boat chase ensues. I have no idea what the hell just happened. Then, in a bizarre moment, Bond hands off the unconscious Camille to some random guy. What? Why did he even bother to rescue her in the first place? Green heads to Austria, and Bond follows. Along the way, Green meets with the CIA, and hey look, Felix Leiter is back. Green wants to help bring about a coup in Bolivia and put the general in charge, in exchange for a worthless piece of desert. The CIA is convinced he's found oil, and of course he has. Most of it's in his hair.
And I have a vest.
You have any idea who that is?
Sorry.
Yeah, could you make it a little more obvious that you're lying?
It's James Bond, British Secret Service.
I was just testing you. And seriously, what's up with this guy? It's like Ron Burgundy joined the CIA. Green meets up with other members of his organization at what appears to be LASIK the Opera.
This is the world's most precious resource. We need to control as much of it as we can. Bolivia must be top priority.
Can I offer an opinion? I really think you people should find a better place to meet.
They all beat a hasty retreat. Bond then gets confronted by this guy who might be able to provide some valuable information. Let's see how long he lives.
I asked you who you were working for.
Seriously, why the hell did he drop the guy off the roof? Nobody messes with Bond's lapels. The bad guys shoot him, but Bond ends up taking the rap. Come on, he didn't shoot the guy, he just threw him off a roof. Huge difference. In response, M tries to restrict Bond's movements in an odd scene where she's applying cold cream the whole time. I'm not sure why we needed to see this. Still, it's better than that scene in Thunderball where we had to watch Bernard Lee apply jock itch cream. Bond tracks down his old friend Mathis, who helps him get to Bolivia, but there they get intercepted by an MI6 agent.
My orders are to turn you around and put you on the first plane back to London.
Okay, but what's with the trench coat? I can't be the only one thinking she's naked under there, right? Is it possible that M accidentally sent Bond a strippergram? Bond immediately seduces her, of course, and yet she refuses to divulge her first name.
It might be useful to know your real name.
Fields. Just Fields.
What name could possibly be that embarrassing in this series? Could it be any worse than Holly Goodhead? Plenty O'Toole? Pussy Galore? I think her name would have to be Harry McVagina Lips to even cause a stir. Well, we do find out her first name, but not until the closing credits. Strawberry. Her name is Strawberry Fields. But you, my dear, are no Sandy Farina.
And nothing to get hung about.
Bond soon ditches Fields and hooks back up with Camille. They get pulled over, and it seems the Bolivian police killed Mathis and planted his body in Bond's trunk. Except they kind of bungled the whole killing him part of the plan. Do over!
Is Mathis your cover name?
Yes.
My real name is Mean Mr. Mustard. Mathis uses his dying breaths to convince Bond to forgive Vesper. And then Bond throws away a perfectly good Frenchman. He rents an old DC-3 to check out the desert that Green bought, but they get shot down and have to bail out. Thankfully, Camille opens the chute at least 3 feet before they land on a nice soft slab of granite. Down in the caves, Camille reveals the real reason she's after the general.
When I was a small child, the opposition sent General Medrano to our house. He shot my father. He did things to my mother and my sister. And then strangled them while I watched.
And you can just see Bond thinking, odds of getting laid. Dropping. Green hasn't found oil, but rather he's blocking off the water supply so he can secure a monopoly. And compared to previous Bond villains who attempted to eradicate the human race and repopulate the planet, I'd say cornering the Bolivian public utilities market is aiming a bit low. Back at the hotel, the bad guys have killed Strawberry Fields by drowning her in oil. So I guess there really is something to get hung about, after all. This, of course, is an obvious Goldfinger homage, the implication being that oil is the new gold. Except, we were just told this isn't about oil at all, it's about water. And you can't kill people by submerging them in water. That'd just be ridiculous. M has Bond arrested, but he escapes within 30 seconds. He somehow finds Leiter, who directs him to where Green is meeting with the Bolivian general at a hotel in the desert. There, Bond takes out the guy responsible for the death of Mathis.
You and I had a mutual friend!
Oh, Jimmy? How's he doing these days? His car backs into a fuel cell, which causes a massive explosion and a chain reaction that takes out most of the hotel. See, most hotels give you free Wi-Fi in your room. This one gives you a free tank of hydrogen. Camille has her revenge on the general, and together they escape the destruction of the hotel. Finally, we get a little coda where Bond tracks down Vesper's old boyfriend. Apparently, he staged his own kidnapping to force her into turning into a double agent. And he's in the process of doing the same thing with this lovely young lady.
You're Canadian?
Well, duh. Doesn't she look Canadian? Actually, the actress, who you might recognize from ABC's Castle, was born in Canada. Talk about going for realism. Somehow, Bond finds it in him not to kill the guy, and that's the whole story. He didn't get any closer to finding the people responsible for Vesper's death, and word is that the new movie doesn't feature Quantum at all. So this whole thing was just a massive waste of time all around. The first time I watched this movie, I'll admit, I didn't have the slightest clue what was going on. But watching it back to back with Casino Royale raised my opinion of it quite a bit. If you look at these two films together as Casino Royale, the extended cut, it works pretty well. Unfortunately, Quantum of Solace was released as a standalone movie, and taken that way, it fails completely. Recently, it was revealed that this movie was done in by the writer's strike of 2007. Basically, it was left up to the director and Daniel Craig himself to finish the screenplay. So now you know why this is the shortest Bond movie ever. Early reviews of Skyfall are in, and word is that it's a vast improvement over this movie. So in the years to come, Quantum of Solace should only be remembered as a cautionary tale about what happens when you start filming without a finished script. Insert witty closing line here. Ah, shit.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to